All right, welcome everyone. This is Holographic Health episode number 7 with Simon and Kate. And we were going to kick off today with a couple of things, just some of our recent experiences really around detoxing and juicing and kind of delving into a bit of our way of life. Simon, I know you wanted to talk about what it means to be vegan from your point of view. So yeah, welcome to episode 7.
Great, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Kate. So, yeah, we may touch on subjects here that we've covered before, but I think they're really valuable, and to keep revisiting and refining our understanding of certain kind of subjects. So, yeah, I'd just really like to start off by hearing more about your recent cleanse that you've done, your juice cleanse, and how you're feeling from that, why you did it, and any kind of insights that have come to you. Because I know for myself, every time I do a cleanse, it comes with new insights and a new level of awareness and understanding. So yeah, I'd be really interested to hear where you're at with that.
Yeah, and for me, I feel like it's an interesting topic, detoxing and cleansing and juicing, and there's a lot of misconception, I think, out there about these kind of practices. And I'm sort of mentioning that because I had a few realizations in this cleanse, as you said, kind of when new insights come and that kind of thing around what I've been seeing with, when January comes, there's a huge diet culture that can flow in. You can see it on social media, and there's a huge camp of people that are anti-diet, anti-cleanse, anti-juicing, detox, the whole lot. And then you sort of have the other side that's, pro all of this and don't eat any inflammatory foods. And I find this kind of can be two distinct levels of thought or thinking or beliefs. And I don't really subscribe to either. So for me, I'm always about the person doing what is right for them and how their body responds, and how they can have more energy in their life or feel better and that kind of thing. So for some people, I always say when I'm talking about the cleansing process that if you're maybe someone that's got really disordered eating, that maybe a hardcore detox isn't really the best thing to consider, because it's probably worth looking at your relationship with food first before you go into something very restrictive. So I'm always quite careful about the way I present the kind of practices that I have. And then really for myself, I healed my chronic illnesses through juicing and detox. That was my first entry into healing my body and giving my body what it needs. So restrictive diets might not work for some people, or cleanses might be a little dangerous maybe for some, but for me and my body, it loves to fast, it loves to cleanse, and I feel really refreshed, renewed, energized from doing these kinds of practices. And I have quite a different perspective in that, I think, to mainstream, in that for me, doing something like a fast or a detox is not deprivation at all. My view on it is it's a complete nourishment of my body and my cells and my mind. And I've just done a 5-day juice fast, mainly green juices. And yeah, I decided to do it because over Christmas and New Year, it's not that I overate, I just ate out a lot. And I noticed that the foods that I was eating were starting to make me feel sluggish and slow. And I still ate what I considered nourishing for me, but I don't use preservatives and things when I cook, and everything's fresh and organic. So I can eat out every now and again, but sort of not 4 or 5 days in a row of eating out and other people's food. So I just felt in my body that I needed a reset and I needed a cleanse. So that's why I decided to do that. And you know, I had quite a few comments, you know, about, oh, isn't that going to be hard? And, you know, why are you restricting yourself and this kind of thing? And I just met that with, I guess, compassion for someone else's point of view, but also to explain that for me, it's loving my body. I'm giving my digestive system a rest, and the juices and the greens and all the minerals and vitamins and I guess nutrition that I was taking in over those 5 days. I mean, after a couple of days, I just started to feel amazing. You know, my skin feels really clear, and really it was energy. By the 4th and 5th day, I had trouble going to sleep in the evening because I just had so much energy and feel really clear in my thinking. So that's why I decided to do that. And I really just intuit that now. I don't plan them. I kind of wake up one morning and go, okay, I need to do that. And, you know, I'll organize the next week to fit that into my life. And, you know, and I did feel like, you know, sometimes I feel like I can get swayed by what I might see on social media or someone's comments about, like I'd mentioned, the whole anti-diet culture. And I just feel like there's a fine line between what you consider going on a diet and how you live your life. And so personally for me, it's not, I don't go on diets. I just like to eat fresh, wholesome food that's not processed. And that's how I feel the best. And so for me, that's nourishment. It's not depriving myself of anything. So that's just my sort of point of view on all of that. And just, yeah, I feel incredible after doing that rest for myself.
You look great, Kate, and even though we're, you know, thousands of kilometers apart, I can feel your vibration, your energy is definitely raised and higher. And yeah, and I can really relate to a lot of what you're saying from my own experience. You know, a couple of things that jumped out at me from what you were sharing was about the social media and this kind of polarization between the pro and the anti. And I mean, we see that in all fields of life now, don't we? It's almost like social media propagates that, and it's encouraged. It's like, so we're encouraged to be either this or that, whether it's political, whether it's lifestyle, whether it's the way we look, you know, and it's made people so kind of judgmental and opinionated, which is, you know, which is so sad, really, you know. So and I think you're right in what you're saying, that it has to be so personal, you know, and it's a personal lifestyle choice. And I can't help thinking that the naysayers have not experienced it, you know, and that goes for so much in life. You know, people will find, you know, many good reasons not to do something that is going to be good for them, which is really unfortunate, which is really, really sad. And I guess, you know, we can, our mission, or part of our mission, you know, with these broadcasts, these recordings that we're doing and sharing them, is to share these messages in a way that hopefully inspires other people, and just kind of be examples within ourselves of how the lifestyle choices that you and I kind of choose to make for ourselves and share with others in terms of our clients and those people that, you know, are looking to heal and looking for help and guidance with that, you know, just to kind of share that and hopefully inspire others. I mean, I agree with you. I started the first detox I did was really to almost like a last ditch attempt after the failings of the Western medical approach, was like a last ditch attempt to get my health back on track, which it certainly did. And this is a good, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. And since then, increasingly, the detox has kind of evolved from being something that I do time to time to kind of keep a check on my health, to just a way of being. I don't even call it, I don't even think of it as detox anymore. You know, it's my way of living. And what happens, as you described so well, is that you just start to feel better and better. Your energy increases and increases. Now, who says, for example, you talked about, well, you know, you could hardly sleep. Who says we have to sleep 8 hours? Where did that come from? Is it to me, it's the same kind of mind indoctrination that tells us we have to work from 9 in the morning to 5 at night. Who says we have to do that? So it's almost like all this kind of conditioning keeps us in a very kind of manageable, neat box, you know. And so part of this detox process that we go through, which can take years and years and years, as I say, it's 10 years since I did my first cleanse, and I'm still in that detox process, you know. And what comes with it is personal freedom, you know, because that energy increases, and we're able to actually live outside of these restrictive kind of social norms. Things like meal times, you know, like the amount of time that we put aside for meals. Now, that isn't to say that it's not nice to sit down with your friends and family and eat. Of course it is, you know, but to be bound by meal times, to be bound by working hours, or sleep, or needing a certain amount of time, and everything. And I really feel, and you know, and I experience this for myself, that the more that we detox, we're actually getting nearer and nearer to being what we're meant to be and living to our full potential. So it's so much more than just about food and our physical health. It starts to become such a much bigger picture, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I
think,
a word that was just dropped into my mind was journey. And because I started my detox journey, I guess 10 years ago too, and you know, the way I felt after my first one, I went to a retreat, and I was given all the juices, and I learned so much in that week. I had Reiki, massage, body work. I was in nature, clean products. My whole world just exploded open into something else that I didn't really know much about. And from that point on, you know, I left that place not knowing you could feel that good, have that much energy, be that clear. So I've never felt like this in my life that I can remember anyway. And then it sort of became a journey. It became a sort of, okay, I'm going to detox more and find out more, to kind of reset at different times. And then it just sort of slowly evolved into my lifestyle. And over all the years, all these different health conditions, one by one, just healed themselves. And it wasn't an overnight thing. I do believe that you can heal overnight. I think we definitely have the capacity for that. But something I thought about the other day too is that often we want a quick fix. We want to feel better immediately. But we often don't give consideration to how many years we spent getting ourselves into the condition that we're now healing from.
Right.
So I probably spent 20 years myself into a mess. And I was very happy to explore the world of healing and take my time. But it's a journey, I think, and you find out about yourself along the way, and what your body really loves and responds to. And I think I'd happily universally say that everybody's body loves fresh food straight from the garden, or, you know, high vibrational foods. I don't feel like anybody would anybody's body and cells would reject that. But it's such a personal process, it's a personal journey, and there's a lot of attachment to foods. And, you know, like you were saying, Simon, I think families or meal times, and, you know, I used to eat when I wasn't hungry just because it was mealtime and that we were supposed to, and things like that. So you just really, yeah, you over time you realize, oh, I'm not, okay, you might be hungry at these times in the day, but me, I'm not hungry till 11, or I like a late dinner, or, you know, so who says what is right for us? We need to find out for ourselves. And I feel that a big part of the cleansing, detox journey process, whatever we want to call it, you tune into yourself through the process. You start to know who you are and what you need. And so that's kind of just like some of the magic of it, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, for me, it's a deeply spiritual process as well, too, you know, and just getting back to that I am, that true self, you know, and peeling away the layers that barriers and all the conditioning, and food plays a really massive role in that. And I just want to read you a quote from the Bible. I'm not a religious man. I'm a deeply spiritual man, but I'm not a religious man. But this from the Bible, and it's from Genesis chapter 1, verse 29. And then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it, they will be yours for food. And that is the only instruction in the whole of the Bible, both the Old and New Testament, of what we should eat. And it's very clear. There's no ambiguity at all, you know. And as you just said, you believe, you feel, you just know it instinctively that there isn't one person who will not thrive from eating whole foods. And you know, and I want to expand this conversation into what being vegan really means, because this is something that I'm extremely passionate about, and I'll probably come back to that quote again, because there's actually quite a bit in there as well too. But yeah, we're being told very clearly by God, whatever God is or means to you, you know, that's not really the point. I feel it's just about, you know, we're just told very clearly as humans, you know, that our food is seed-bearing plants and trees that have fruits with seed in it, you know.
Yes.
And you know, the world that we're born into now, we're so far from great, from the Garden of Eden, let's call it, you know. and you, and bless our parents, because, you know, for most of us, we're so fortunate. They love us and they want the very best for us, you know, but they only start to care for us and nurture us and feed us in the way that they're told and they were taught by their parents. And you know, we've got so far from our kind of natural way of being, and it's so deeply ingrained in our belief systems that we need to eat certain foods, whether it be meat, whether it be dairy, whether it be grains. We're not even really meant to eat grains. I really don't believe we're meant to eat grains, you know. And the way that we've gone with nutrition over the last I don't know, probably a very long time, but it's definitely an evolving field. And this field of trying to make the most of what we traditionally have been told we should eat. So it's okay, well, you can eat a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a bit more of that. And you know, but I think ultimately where we're going to, you know, to really live to our full potential, to be truly healthy at all levels of our being, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, is back to this, is to eat seed-bearing plants and the fruit with seeds in them. You know, this is what we're talking very, very clearly, and this is pretty much where I've got to now in terms of my eating, particularly since I did the last 21-day cleanse.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, it's phenomenal. It feels absolutely incredible. Yeah, I can't even relate to the person that I used to be 10 years ago. It doesn't even feel like me. Never mind look like me. Never mind the 20 kilos of weight that I've lost. Never mind the you know, the physical conditions that were plaguing me and limiting me. You know, never mind the I'm not even talking about the kind of depression that I used to suffer with, or the, you know, emotional mood swings and all this kind of stuff. You know, just it's even beyond that, Kate. You know, just to, when I compare who I am now with who I used to be, and I'm older, you know, and again, part of our conditioning is that as we get older, we get sicker, that we kind of deteriorate, that we lose our clarity, we lose our energy, we lose our enthusiasm, you know. And I just want to say that this is just not true. It doesn't need to be true, you know.
Yeah,
So
you make a point.
So yeah,
I was just going to say, you make a really good point on that. I did a video on one of my social medias a little while ago on that topic, because I didn't have a personal trainer, but we had a trainer where I used to work who was a personal trainer, and he said, after the age of 26, your fitness will decline and your muscle mass will decline, all this kind of thing. And I remember at that point, and I wasn't into any of things that I'm into now. You know, that was like 13, 14 years ago or something. But I remember at that moment thinking, I'm not accepting that. I'm not accepting what you're telling me. And this is before I knew that our beliefs impacted our body and, you know, and all those kinds of things. And I just remember thinking, no, I don't adhere to that. And I'm 39 now, and I'm fitter and healthier now than I was when I was 26 years old, because I look after my body and I nourish myself, and I just have different beliefs about that. So I just love what you said there about not accepting that as you age, you deteriorate, because that it can be true if you want that to be true, but it's also not true. Yeah, our bodies are
absolutely. And
yeah.
Not only, Kate, do you look after your body, but you look after your mind as well too. You know, and as we've said so many times before, we cannot separate these two. You know, and we cannot just choose to take care of one aspect of ourselves and not the other, and think that will be okay. You know, and hence the kind of holistic approach to health that you and I both, you know, advocate and live by as well too. And then that kind of ties into the name of this YouTube channel, which is the holographic health, which to me takes that even further than just a personal holistic approach to health, which is the health as an infinite structure of which we are part. Health at both the micro and the macro level. So the micro level being the bacteria within it, the parasites within it, the you know, and this is something that people really need to to understand and realize for themselves is that what they eat and believe they choose to eat is actually determined by by the bacteria and the parasites that are in their body. It's not their choices. Yeah. And so this detox process that we're talking about, which, you know, can take years and years and years, is a gradual killing off of those bacteria and parasites that are literally draining us and living off us, and building up the internal bacteria that support our lives. We're never going to get rid of all bacteria. We don't want to get rid of all.
We don't want to. Yeah, we need it.
But we need it, and this is what really saddens me now in the world about people's fear of bacteria and viruses. Yeah, because we are bacteria and viruses. Yeah, in the same way as the planet Earth is made up of us, and not just humans, but animals and plants and everything that makes up this makes up the planet Earth. In the same way, each of us is that community of bacteria as well too. So we need to, through this ongoing detox process and refinement, we're constantly upgrading it, improving the bacterial community and the viral community within us, you know. So we don't, this is why, for me, this culture of hand cleansing and not touching the earth and not taking the shoes off and living indoors, and this abject fear of nature, which I feel is, and I don't want to get into any kind of like politics or anything here. I know I can do, but I'm not going to. But I can't, it's almost propagated all this, and, you know, and it's so sad to see, you know, and it just takes us further and further away from our natural state of being, you know. So this detox process to me is a journey back to our natural state of being. And I know that there are people that are absolutely terrified of that, you know. They're terrified of being natural human beings, you know, and I find that so sad. And, you know, it almost feels like another one of the polarizing splits that within humanity is those that want to kind of get more back to being organic human beings and living more aligned with nature, and those that fear that and almost embrace the opposite, which is technology and anything that will in a way substitute nature. So for me, yes. And then those, so for me, this kind of process is getting back to being a more organic, natural being. And so, yeah, I wanted to talk about what being vegan means. What I really understand being, I use this word understand rather than understand, because understand has a different meaning. Understand is taking on board a belief that is given to us externally. Yeah, this is what understand means. Understand is a knowing that comes from within. You know, so when I use this word understand, that's what I mean.
That makes sense.
So
it makes complete sense, because I think you can understand something, but yeah, understand. The words just resonate in terms of kind of going back to what we were saying before. It's about knowing yourself, and understand makes sense to me from that point of view.
And I'd really encourage anyone that does listen to this to really just reflect on those words, actually, what understand really means. You know, it's like, for example, if a policeman stops you and they'll maybe accuse you of something like running a red light or whatever, And the first thing they will say is, do you understand? Yeah. So actually what they're doing is they are kind of putting their will onto you through this word. This word subjugates you to them. So we need to be really clear. We need to be very careful with our language. And maybe that's a whole other conversation that we could have. But yeah, that's just one example. So back to what it is that I understand about being about veganism, and what being vegan means to me, holistically and holographically. And this is not something that I just woke up one morning and I was like, oh, I'm going to be vegan and this is what vegan means. Becoming vegan has been a process, and it's not a process of willpower, and it's not a process of necessarily mental choice.
Yeah.
It's a process that becomes an inevitable consequence of detoxing the body. It really does, because the body, and that bacterial balance that we were talking about, because the bacteria within us that support us living long, healthy lives, they don't want dead animal flesh. They're not interested in it. They're not interested in milk and dairy. They're not even particularly interested in grains or sugar or etc. You know, all the things that we're told, well, you can have it in this balance, and a little bit of this and a little bit of that is okay. You know, ultimately, no. You know, we don't need any of these things.
And I think
but it becomes a natural.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Can I?
There's a delay. Yes, keep going.
Can I just continue a little?
Yeah.
I'll just continue a little bit. And this is what I just really want to say to people. And this is what I say to all my clients, all the people that we work with at the retreat, is you can't force yourself into becoming anything. You know, it's not about willpower. It's about consciousness. It's about a raise in your consciousness and awareness and your vibrational frequency. And all of these things manifest as thought forms, they manifest as emotions, and they also have an effect on that intestinal flora, you know, the bacteria that we're talking about. Because you see, as your vibration rises, as you just said, like after a 5-day cleanse, you like feel so good, you feel positive, you feel enthusiastic, you feel energized and energetic. Now, these kind of parasites and bacteria that feed off, say, dairy and rotting flesh, they can't hold that vibration that you're in. That environment that you offer to them vibrationally is not suitable for them, and they will choose to leave. You know, in the same way that us as human beings, we naturally, in our natural state, we will go and live in an environment that suits us. Now, if that environment starts to change, we'll move away from it and we'll go and find a more suitable environment. And that's no different than the kind of bacteria and parasites that live off animal flesh and dairy products, etc. You know, if they stop receiving those, then they're going to go somewhere else. So this is, to me, is how this process works and how we move towards an increasingly refined diet, which ultimately I do believe is as we're clearly told in the first chapter of the Bible, you know, is to eat of the plants that bear seeds and the fruits that bear seeds. And why that bit is important is because there is absolutely no violent cause. And I use the word violent. I know it's a very strong word, and you know, often when we heard the word violent, we think about you know shooting and fighting and stuff like that. But I'm using the word violent in a very, very refined way here. Yeah. Because if you eat a piece of cheese, you've engaged in violence, because the animal that supplied the milk from which that cheese is made suffered. At some level, it suffered, yeah? And obviously, the flesh from an animal, well, the animal has obviously suffered, you know? And anyone that kids themselves that it's from Daisy the cow, that the Daisy the cow that lived happily in a meadow and was very, very happy to sacrifice itself for our pleasure, then they're completely deluded. I'm sorry to say that, you know? Every animal suffers, you know, if you're going to eat it, any part of it, whether, you know, whether it dies or not, you know? So when I use the word violence, and even if you eat grains, they suffer because they die from it, yeah? And also, I'd just like to add to that we have a huge history as humanity of enslaving other humans to farm grains. And that energy is imbued in the grains themselves as well too. And that goes for a lot of farming practices as well too, even though maybe modern farmers aren't using slaves in the same way as they had in the past. They're using machinery, etc. There's still, I believe, a lot of that energy is in many crops. But so ultimately, though, if we eat a fruit or a plant that the seeds from it, or that has seeds, we are doing the opposite of any violence. We are actually bringing more life to that plant, to that tree, because we become part of its what's the right word, of its
I know what you're trying to say as well.
I can't find the right word, but we become part of its life process.
It's the life cycle, you know.
It's life cycle process.
Yeah.
Exactly, you know, because you eat the fruit with the seed in it. You don't digest the seed, but you expel the seed with your feces, which provides the perfect environment for that seed to grow and flourish into another tree. So you actually become the opposite of violent to it, you know? And that, so that is really the point that I wanted to get to with veganism now, and really wanted to plant that seed, no pun intended, but to look at your life, every aspect of your life, not just your food. And this is what being vegan really means to me now, is like, where am I causing any violence in my life? And how can I not only eliminate that violence from my life, but make every aspect of my life life affirming, not only to myself, but other people. So this includes things like our language.
Yes.
With other people and with ourselves. And well, we can expand on this. You can think about every single aspect of your life, can't you? And think about, okay, am I creating any violence in even the most subtle ways in this aspect of my life? Or am I actually enhancing life, whether it's my own life, whether it's another person's life, whether it's another being's life, whether it's the planet itself. So, you know, this is another one that we need to think about. Of course, any nutritionist worth their salt will tell you that avocados are super good for you. Yes, they certainly are. You know, they really, really are. They're probably one of the very best kind of fruits and foods that we can eat. But if you live in the north of England and it's the middle of winter, what's the consequence of you eating that avocado? You know, and we've got to get beyond our own personal personal health. And this is back to that holistic and holographic as well too, isn't it? It's like, okay, but what's the effect on the health of my eating that avocado on humanity? So what about the people that are involved in the farming of that, the transporting of that? You know, now we most of us know by now some of the obvious abuse of workers in industries like, for example, the clothing industry. This has been going on for a long time, you know, kind of
Oh yes, it has.
Child labor, etc. And I know that I can talk very well about that because I used to be part of used to be in the clothing industry, and I saw it with my very own eyes. You know, but we need to do our own research on this in terms of the food that we eat as well too, you know. And then of course there's all the consequences of moving that avocado from wherever it's grown to wherever we, etc., etc. So I'm going to stop there, but I hope that just starts to raise a more expanded awareness for people into their food choices and what being vegan means. This isn't just a fashion statement. It's not just, you know, as you and I have said many times before, you can be vegan and eat absolute junk.
Crap.
You can. You really, really can. So it's part of a much kind of bigger, a bigger picture than that.
Yeah, and I mean, I share a lot of similar thoughts and feelings around that too. And I'd just written a note down before when you were talking actually around just the gut bacteria and the microbiome, because there's so much in the media about this now. It's you know, it's been known for quite some time, but it's just all, you know, taken off, and you can see companies trying to piggyback off the back of it with all kinds of fancy marketing and all this kind of thing. But really, at a really basic level, I think we're only about 10% human cells, and the rest are bacterial cells. And just kind of talking about your journey, and I've had a similar one. It's not like I sort of woke up overnight and went, I'm changing my entire life and I no longer eat this and I no longer do that. It's been a very organic process. And with our gut bacteria, it's just kind of actually acknowledging that however we've lived our life up to this point has created a certain dynamic in our body and on our skin with that bacteria, and that as you start to make different choices, different thoughts, different foods, the bacteria adjust to the new ecosystem and become healthier and better support your immune system and actually support your mood and your energy levels, how well your cells can actually create and use energy. And that it's a transition that happens over time. So, and the thing I feel most people sometimes don't get over the first hurdle is that, like anything, when you make a change, your gut bacteria are going to get a bit upset about that too, or the bacteria in your body, and kind of go, hey, where's my sugar? Where's my meat? Where's my negative thoughts? Where are all these things? And they kind of have a bit of a freak out. But it's just the process of kind of cleansing and making those different choices consistently ends up changing the terrain to support you. And so you start to crave fruits.
And this is, sorry to interrupt, but and this is where those people that are like, well, I tried being vegan for a month, but it didn't work for me, you know, and because it can take a long time to make that adjustment, and you can feel quite sick. And often what we think of as being sick in our culture, ours being like the Western culture, is actually the process of getting better. And the first thing that we do is medicate that process to get rid of the symptoms, and we call it sickness, you know. So for example, the flu is not a sickness, it's the body cleansing and upgrading, and it happens every single year, every single season. You know, that's why people get flu every year, because the environment changes every year. New things come into the environment, so our bodies have to go through this process of detoxification and upgrading. To It's a little bit like, you know, when your computer goes, you know, when you have to kind of upgrade the software kind of thing, you know, and then you have that downtime, don't you, of your computer where it's complete, you can't do anything with it while it's doing the process. That, you know, this is what the seasonal flu is, for example, you know. So we really need to get away from this this almost this kind of aversion from any kind of discomfort, and appreciate that oftentimes discomfort is our way of healing, you know. And that's not to say we need to suffer unnecessarily. And this is exactly why, you know, that most people, that this detox process needs someone, they need someone to guide them through it, someone like you or myself who knows this process. Otherwise, they will be the person that said, well, I tried being vegan and it just didn't work for me. You know, because they felt sick, because it was such a shock to their body and to their bacteria, the intestinal flora, as you say. You know, it has to be done in a measured way and in a in a guided way.
Yeah, I agree. And just I think we could probably wrap it up about now anyway, because we have covered quite a lot, but it's just, again, just coming back to that, the inner stand term that you use, that kind of inner knowing. And I think for me, would end on something that you touched on earlier too, is that it's really about your own journey and your own process, and not necessarily having some science that tells you this thing works this way or whatever, but really trying things for yourself and seeing what actually does work for you, and trusting the journey and trusting the process, and coming back to yourself and how you feel and what your body needs. And again, that's something that getting help is really can be really.
It is, Kate, but what do you say? I know exactly what you're saying, and I totally relate to it. But what do we say to those people that are not at that point where they can listen to themselves and trust themselves? You know, so there has to be a first step, you know, because we are so conditioned to listen to what we're told and to believe what we're told, and that's through no fault of our own. You know, so what you and I are talking about here is, and this is why we brought in this word inner standing, is that it's a journey to get to that point of inner standing where we become our own authority and our own sovereign beings, where we you know, where we don't need anybody else tell us what is good for us, because we just know it for ourselves, you know. But so many of us, and I was there, have been so far away from that. So how does that journey start?
I mean, I think it would start differently for different people, but something I work with quite often, and I do quite a lot of well-being talks as well, and an exercise that I do is just get people to do something really simple. Like, when you get up in the morning, most people tune into what they want to wear for the day. What do I want to wear? You open your cupboard and you go, that red dress, or those pair of jeans, whatever it might be. Or when you think about when you want to go on a holiday, you just tune in. Where would I like to go? And so with food being, you know, focused on nutrition, I get people to start to do that. What do you feel like today? What feels good to you? And more often than not, when people do start to really listen, at first it might be, I feel like, some people, sometimes the journey is, well, I feel like a donut. And say, well, okay, go and eat a bag of donuts. But they don't feel very good after that. And so they don't, I mean, everyone I've worked with, they've never gone down the path of just eating all the junk. They realize, okay, I've got the freedom to choose now. And what I actually feel like today is an apple, or what I feel like today is, you know, something else that's just a little more high vibration than what they were choosing. Then over time, it's sort of, it's adding in. That's how I feel people can start to make that change, is adding things in rather than focusing on what they're going to take out. And the more you add in that feels right and starts to give you energy and make you feel better, the less room there is for the other things that don't really support you. But I feel like everyone's journey is quite different, and sometimes it is a conditioning that you have to just slowly start to work with, and being open. And unfortunately, some people won't be, they'll be closed off to that, and there's no changing people's minds or what have you. But I feel like there's a shift, there's more of a shift towards more people coming back to themselves. And the more of us that do that, coming back to the holographic health piece, the more that's in the collective consciousness, the more I feel like there'll be a turn and a shift towards inner knowing, inner standing, whatever we want to call it. But that's where I'm at with that.
No, that's brilliant. I think that's really, really good advice as well too. So just to really just tune in to what it is you really, what you really feel like, you know. And if there still remains a craving for the pizza and the donut, then have it, you know, and then see how you feel afterwards. And I guess what I would then maybe suggest to add to that, and you use this word journey perfectly, you know, appropriately, is to keep a journal, you know, as well too. And then it's like, and then that helps you to, so a journal of what you're eating and how it makes you feel, you know, and then that helps to capture that and to record that too. And the other thing I just want to add, which we always add as well too, is that you can also reach out to people like Kate and I. This is what we do. This is what we do, and this is what we're here to do. This is our mission: is to, you know, to be able to serve people and guide people onto this path of, you know, just incredible health, holistically, holographically, as we call it. And yeah, so please do kind of reach out to us. We've got contact information below, I believe.
Yeah, we do. And then so I thought it might be nice if you still got that quote to just end with the quote from the Bible that you read out too, because it was really nice. And I know sometimes people don't listen, they listen to parts of recordings and what have you, but I just thought it was really poignant and a nice way to.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I will do. Yeah. It will. So yeah, when I finish this, we'll stop the recording. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is from the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 29. Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food.
Beautiful. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, everyone.